tear up because it's so funny to me. Like, I'm just picturing every pro-dom that I know that is a very alpha female in their logic, who has lots of men who do lots of things for her that have no authority whatsoever in her life. I know lots of pro-doms that have clients and submissives who pay for their rent, who pay off their student loans, who bought them a car, who bought them a work laptop. And that does not in any way necessitate that person having control or authority over the dominant person's life. Like, just because you bought them a laptop doesn't mean you get to spy on what they do, or just because you pay their rent doesn't mean that you get to stay in their bedroom whenever you feel like it. Gift giving or providing for someone should be something that you implicitly want to do, not because it's a tit for tat, well, I did this for you, so now you owe me this. Like, that's very transactional. You should be getting your own fulfillment from giving something to another person, right? Whether it be getting them new shoes or paying their rent or whatever it is, you should be doing that because you like it, because that in and of itself is its own reward, not because it creates a leverage point in the relationship where you get to say, because I bought you new shoes, you have to have sex with me whenever I want you to. Like, this is not how this works. We're not doing a barter system where because you buy me a lamp, you get to do whatever you want to my body. Like, that's not how it works. And you definitely do not need authority over someone's life just because you provide for them.
I think in this situation, the way it works is these people at the manosphere and the people they deal with have a sense of idea that no one will love them and that they are to be used. And you can see this with many people that support him, and specifically in his content. They think that women aren't capable of loving them. So they go to women who will use them for their money. And what they're saying is that they will use the women for their body, basically. So it's transactional because nobody likes each other. Basically, they don't like each other. They don't love each other. They admit this, that they think, both people involved think that no one will love them for them. They will only use them for their body or use them for their money. They think that they are meant to be used. Maybe they are hurt people, and therefore they think they are incapable. People are incapable of loving them, basically. I think it's a situation of someone needing to figure it out in therapy, most likely, maybe childhood trauma. But yeah, that's what I've always noticed with the manospheres, that they gravitate to people who will use them and will basically think that they are supposed to be used for their bodies, basically, that they are not appreciated for themselves. Neither individual feels they are appreciated for who they are, but rather their body or their money is what others will use from them because they're not good enough. Anyway, continue.
Some people like it when those things go together because it feels more congruent to them, but other people enjoy it when they give things to people and get nothing in return. And there's nothing inherent in giving a gift that says, because I gave you this, you owe me this. It's not like, no. And providing for someone financially is also not an inherently dominant thing or an inherently masculine thing. Caregiving and providing is something that anyone of either or all genders can do, right? And it can be a dominant thing or a submissive thing depending on your mindset, depending upon your intention. Okay? All right, we're on the same page about that, right?
If I'm going to have a ship, if you have a ship...
I definitely agree with that. Anyway, continue.
The reason the captain has to go down with the ship is because he is responsible for everything that happens on that ship. And because of that, he has authority. If he yells at the shipmates and they all ignore him, then he can't be considered responsible for the problems on the ship, which means he doesn't have to die with it. If you want a man invested in a relationship, he needs to be responsible for you, but he needs authority over you.
Last time I checked, heterosexual relationships were not the same thing as being in the Navy. I'm sorry, when did that happen?
I don't get it. Why? It's almost like sometimes the way they talk, it's almost like they're interested in children to me. Not trying to try and talk poorly about anyone. This isn't specifically at Andrew Tate, but to me, when I hear many people from the manosphere, it's almost like they think who they are trying to be with is a child. Like you're saying you're responsible for them. You're responsible for a grown adult? That's weird to me. I don't know. That's just odd. But I don't know. That's just something that was weird when he said responsible for. Like, you have kids when you are with a woman, or I don't mean biologically, but I mean she is a kid. She's your kid. She's your responsibility. That's interesting to me. I mean, like, the responsibility of a relationship, yeah, but I don't think a grown person is your responsibility. That's just not my thoughts on it. Continue, though.
When did dating become joining the military? I was not aware that this happened.
And you know what? The smartest thing you can do as a woman is sit and go, you know what? Go into this concert. It's 2 hours. But this is going to piss him off, and it's going to splinter in his mind for years. Is this really worth it?
A fight about a concert will splinter in a man's mind and bother him for years. I'm sorry. I have a few questions about this. One, I don't think most women are making decisions based off of like, my man's gonna hold on to this for the rest of all of time, and so because of that, I should just go with what he wants so he doesn't hold it against me. That's not a healthy relationship.
He doesn't seem like a healthy individual if he's holding her going to a concert for the rest of his life. It seems like he has a hard time handling his emotions, compartmentalizing his emotions, getting over his feelings. Like, to me, it seems like he has some problems. But you can tell that I think he might have some problems. But sometimes I think that even people who have personal problems do need to find love as well, and they need to find the right woman for themselves. It's just sometimes it's like, are you really going about it the right way? Or is it just counterproductive for everyone involved, including him? You know?
Any marriage counselor, ask any family therapist. Bringing up shit in fights that happened 2 to 3 years ago is not healthy. You should not be doing that. I have had exes before where we will be arguing about something else entirely, and then they will bring up something that happened 2 years ago that was supposedly forgiven. That is not healthy. That is not okay. And if you are the kind of person that holds on to every single thing your partner does that you personally don't like, I don't know if you're like emotionally stable enough to have a relationship with other people, especially when you take everything the other person does as a personal attack on you specifically, and not them having bodily autonomy to do what they want. And if everything they do that's not what you want them to do is an attack on you personally, you hold on to that, you gotta be a little bit more emotionally mature than that to handle being in a relationship. It's very funny because I think a lot of these guys talk about, well, facts don't care about your feelings, but then like they want to be able to make every decision in the relationship based off of their feeling that they should be given all of the authority, all of the respect.
This whole situation wasn't on facts, it was based off of his feelings. I think it's more narcissistic than anything, if you think of it. What he's meaning to say that no one else's feelings really matter besides his feelings. But he's definitely basing his decisions off of his feelings. Anyway, continue.
The relationship, and if they're not given that, they hold a complete meltdown and they have a tantrum, and then they hold on to it for forever, like, you hurt me this one time and I'm not going to be able to let it go. That's not being emotionally well adjusted. That's your feelings dictating your reality and letting your feelings like poison you. Like, don't do that. Don't poison yourself. It's not good for your brain.
Now, I'm not saying let some man abuse you, let some man treat you like shit. But if you have a good man who's good to you 99% of the time and he comes along and he really cares about something, you should give him that grace and give him that, you know what, he's the man, he said it, boom, done. Because if something happened to you at that concert, if your bag was snatched, if you got fucking robbed, if someone tried to punch you, if someone grabbed you, who would you call?
Okay, the police. Help the police.
You call.
who the heck is calling their man? What does he have? It is so weird to me. Like, with these situations, when they say, like, oh, you go to your man for all these things, like protection and all that stuff, it's weird to me because it's like, the only thing different between a man and a woman is a mild amount of strength, right? But we both die very quickly off of bullets, and anyone can pull the trigger. I mean, like I said in another video, we had a 6-year-old who shot a woman. He obviously didn't have any power, any strength, he just had thumbs. So I never really get why they always say, you're gonna call your man. Your man has only a slight sizable amount of more strength than you do, right? He doesn't have any legal authority, like the police do, I mean, you could say if he comes with a weapon, well, then you have the same ability to have a weapon and you're up in jail yourself, So it's kind of like, I don't really know why anyone would call their man. I mean, to complain maybe afterwards, but not to actually fix the situation. You would want to call the police or someone who's actually in authority of the situation, not your man. Your man has nothing to do with this. It's just so weird to me. Anyway, continue.
The police.
You call him.
Senor Andrew, Mr. Tate King, Master Supreme Leader of everything, the universe, the Matrix, and all of that. No, I just say this because it keeps him chill. I want to make my points the right way,
But Tate, do you not think that it's not respect?
Wait.
You guys,
Listen.
wait one second. You want to say something?
Just doing the most.
Of course I have to do the most. This is the thing. What you don't understand is that as a lady, I am displaying to you that it's very easy to speak to a man like Andrew Tate as long as you don't need to step on his toes and you respect the authority that he has. I'm not going to sit here and try and fight against a man that has done a lot more in my life, been in rooms that I haven't been in because he's Andrew Tate. I respect you, but I can still put my point across, okay? My point is... No, but there is a point, of course.
Can I just say something? When you say but after something, you just cancel everything you said before.
However, it's a point, it's an acknowledgement, and then comes the counter argument because I don't have to agree with things to speak.
Okay, what?
Oh, sorry, commercial. I'm turning off.
What is he saying? Is he, first of all, does he just fantasize about, like, disasters happening? Is he, like, one of those, like, disaster preppers who's like, all right, I gotta be prepared for when, like, the terrorists attack at this concert? Like, is he just, like, one of those guys that always has, like, 4 guns on him? Because he's, like, constantly, like, I'm gonna have to use them to take down a shooter.
He doesn't even carry guns. He said it. He carries just swords. Man, like, a sword is a measly little thing. Anyone can shoot him and kill him. 6-year-old can shoot him and kill him. So it's like, you don't really have much power at this point. And I would think that if anyone came across any problems, they'd be better off calling the police, who have guns and have ways of protecting you. I mean, they have the law on their side, So, yeah.
I'm all. Like, is that his energy? It kind of gives me that energy. Like, yeah, something really bad happened. That would be tragic. One, if it was me, I would deal with the on-site security because that's what they're trained and hired to do, and I wouldn't want my man to get arrested for assault because he took matters into his own hands and then, like, wrestled somebody to the ground and then punched someone in the face until they passed out. Like, no. I'm not interested in doing that. Like, there are security, there are trained staff there to deal with that. I will enlist their help. I don't necessarily need or want anyone else to get involved for your safety and for everyone else's safety, all right? It's just safer to let security deal with these things. But also, is he saying that men have a sixth sense, like, premonition thing for danger where, like, they just get spidey tingles about, like, oh, I just have a bad feeling about this concert. I just really think there might be a disaster and, like, you just shouldn't go. You don't have any more ability than anyone else unless you're, like, a top level security clearance for like an FBI group that watches terrorists. You do not know any more than anyone else about like how likely there is to be danger at a concert enough to tell me not to go, and also to not be questioned about why. Because if your feeling is that like, well, I'm just worried because there was that attack last month, and I just don't want you to go by yourself, and I'd just be safer if we stayed at home. Like, can we get a DVD of the concert and watch that later? Then you can have a healthy conversation about what your anxieties are. Your anxieties should not be controlling the relationship, Mr. Facts don't care about your feelings. I thought you subscribed to that belief, but again, you are letting your feelings dictate the relationship because of your irrational fears.
Okay, so
Because the only feelings that matter are his, because all he sees is himself. Just saying.
point simply is, fine, I get that, but at the end of the day, the same way that we have evolved now as a woman I have evolved, I would expect, and what I do want is not equality, is a certain level of respect, which means that if I am also somebody that is quite smart, somebody that can take care of themselves, I've done all of this for about 30 years of my life, you can't tell me just no. What the condition is, the condition is, instead of telling me no, give me the assurance as to why you said no, because actually I am agreeable when you make me feel assured that what you're doing makes me feel safe, actually, because what women are looking a lot for is stability, and stability comes from knowing that you can trust the man. I don't trust blindly.
I can't even hear what they're saying because they're going over each other. But I would say she has a good point in the whole thing where she's saying that, a woman is a grown person who has made their decisions in their life before him. They almost act like before she had him in her life, what was she doing? Was she living? It's almost like they act like she wasn't even living. She wasn't even making decisions. She was just a blob somewhere, and she couldn't decide left from right because there was no man around, and a man needs to tell her everything of what to do and so forth. Like I said, it goes back to the whole infantilization of women and thinking that women are children. It is really uncomfortable if you really think you're in a relationship with a woman. It's just not the right mind frame to be in when you're in a relationship with a grown adult. Anyway.
Nava, it doesn't count if you're only agreeable when you feel like being agreeable.
Can I just say something?
I'm submissive.
You're only submissive when you're only submissive when you feel like being like when you feel like it.
Can I just say something?
And like some people love giving explanations. Like if the man is supposed to be the leader in this relationship and he's supposed to be this alpha male who knows everything and is better than women and always makes the right choices and is totally self-assured in everything, he should, as a leader, I think, maybe also want to be a teacher, that's the framework we're going with, and be willing and happy to explain, this is why I came to this decision, this is why I think it's the best choice, without it being seen as a threat. Because to me, this very much comes across like any questioning, anything is a threat, and it comes across as very insecure. If you are...
That's because they don't have good leadership skills. And like I said, honestly, if you're an alpha and you're a leader, you should be able to teach people well, right? And also, you should be able to be a strong leader, basically. And these people, that's why they're unhappy with questioning, because it questions their leadership, and their leadership isn't very strong. So if their leadership isn't very strong, then somebody questioning it questions their alphahood, basically, because they're not a strong alpha. Which, honestly, I don't see that as an insult. I don't think that a man not being an alpha is a bad thing. I actually don't like alphas myself. So I'm just putting that out there that I'm not trying to insult anyone. But continue.
A genuinely dominant person in a consensual, dominant, submissive relationship, you should be able to explain your decision making so that way your partner understands you better. This can be a learning opportunity where the submissive partner can go, oh, this is why you're choosing this. Okay, I get this. This informs my worldview in this way. Or if your submissive has more information, you can have a conversation about that, right? And it should be a back and forth where you can almost sort of see and not everyone thinks this way, but you can also sort of see your submissive partner as a resource, as a thing you can use that is greater than yourself. And because, we're talking about heterosexual relationships here and Andrew Tate, and so he thinks that women have nothing to offer and no insight whatsoever, and they're liars and too emotional. But theoretically, if we don't agree with that, other people in a relationship can also have their own perspective and information and insight to give that can give you a richer and fuller picture and a better idea of what to do. But Andrew Tate doesn't believe in that because Andrew Tate literally thinks that he never makes mistakes, and because he's conscious of every choice that he makes, he never makes a wrong choice. So he doesn't ever need input from anyone else. But I'm sorry, the plebs among us generally need insight from other people to be able to make a richer decision when it comes to things that involve other people. And also, I'm just really tired of this whole it's not real submission if you blah blah blah. Okay, just to lay it out for everyone because I don't think I've done that yet. Submission comes in so many shapes and sizes. You can submit to one thing in the bedroom and not submit outside of that, and you can submit to absolutely everything. And it's this weird thing that I see people like this bring up where they think because someone acts submissive in the bedroom or bottoms in the bedroom that they must submit to all things everywhere outside of that in real life, otherwise they're liars. And it's no, the context is different. The thing they are submitting to is different. Different things are different. You can want to submit in the bedroom and not want to submit financially or emotionally or whatever. You can set up boundaries around this is what I want to submit to and this is what I don't want to submit to. And that's all fair. That's all a normal part, at least in BDSM, of what submission looks like, is there is so much variation in what people submit to and what they don't. And it's not like a take it or leave it, you have to submit to nothing or everything. It's a very black and white thinking. It's not very...
I think it's very odd to me because, when we talk about the emotional side of a relationship, I don't understand why that would conflate to the sexual side of the relationship. You could be very dominant in bed, but that doesn't mean in your regular life you're going to be a complete dominant person. You might not even be alpha in real life, when it comes to emotional the emotional side of a relationship. For me personally, in my relationships, I've never really been the top leader, but more so a co-partner situation. I don't really like to think of it where I would lead specifically in that regard. We're both two free individuals, adults who, make our own decisions. And the reason we're in a relationship is because we like each other, we love each other, and we grow together. So to me, it's not like there's one person leading another, there's one who makes the decisions over the other, but people can come to it together. They can come to a decision together, with equal input. So to me, it's just weird that people make this assumption that, if you are submissive, then you are going to be submissive emotionally. So sexually, if you're submissive, then you're going to be emotionally in a relationship dynamic. Or if you're dominant, that means you're going to be dominant in the emotional side of the relationship. You could very well be submissive or dominant in the bed. That doesn't really have to do with the day-to-day life. You're conflating things weirdly, in my opinion. And I say this from a different perspective, but to me, I think that would apply to most everyone. Anyway.
Wise thinking. It's not very, I don't know, there's so much of this is very black and white thinking of it has to be this way or it has to be this way and nothing else is in between, blah blah blah. They're incapable of seeing shades of gray in the world and believing that you can have variation in what you do and have it still be honest and true. Just because I submit to you in the bedroom does not mean that you automatically get to have authority over what I do with my paychecks or what shoes I wear or how I do my makeup. Those are all individually negotiated things because in BDSM, First of all, not everyone wants authority over all of that shit. It's annoying, it's time consuming. It takes away from your relaxation time to micromanage other people. Not everyone wants to have to dictate what other people have to do all the time. So you come together as equals, you negotiate, this is what I want to give up power over, this is what I want to give up power over, I'm not ready for that yet. And you meet somewhere in the middle, you figure out, okay, this is where we're going to start. And over time, as your relationship grows, you might develop more trust, because this is all based on trust. And from what they're implying, if you care about a man, if he treats you well, you just automatically should always submit to him in all things all the time automatically. But even people that have TPE relationships, total power exchange relationships, that grows over time. You don't generally start there. You start with kind of experimenting, you build up trust, you try more things, you go in further directions, you build on that, you build on that. Like, you lay things out brick by brick. You don't like start with a full building automatically. You have to build it over time, because you're both building it together. You're making it what both of you want it to be. And then if you want a submissive that is not going to question you, you find someone who wants to submit in that way, as opposed to expecting everyone to do that exact thing.
We live in different houses.
Of course.
If I went, he'd never know. Me and my man.
The reason they expect everyone to do that is because they assumed all women were submissive just by nature or whatever. And it's so weird, because like I said, relationships and dating is based on the individual. It's not based on the collective of women. It's based on who you particularly are dating, who you are particularly in a relationship with. You can't think of yourself as dating just women in general and not the individual, because if you don't realize that women are individuals, you will never find the one, because you're not realizing that you need a specific type of woman. And that's a major problem with the manosphere. It seems like that they tend to not realize you need a particular woman. And there's nothing wrong with the fact that they need a particular woman. Everybody needs a particular man or a woman. That's what it's all about. Finding the one. It's finding the one. It's not finding everyone. It's finding the particular one that is specifically your man or your woman that is fit for you. Anyway, continue.
I'm a caregiver. If I went, he would have never known.
Right.
So I still didn't go.
Okay. And?
So what you were saying?
So I'll say to you, okay, babe, you don't want me to go? Why don't you want me to go? Like, what's worrying? What's the matter? Why would you not want me to go?
But why would I want to question him when he's always got my best interest at heart?
Well, I want to know.
But he's not
I don't know why,
explaining
because
that
my
to
best
you.
interest in
Why should he have to explain everything?
Wait,
Because you're not a child. You are also an adult.
No, and it's not
And
it's
treating
not only
a
that
woman
way.
like she doesn't have her own mind is very
It is an
disrespectful.
acknowledgement. It's
Like, I'm sorry. Think about it.
The girl in brown has also finally entered the chat. Welcome. Glad you could be here. Glad you could get a word in edgewise there. Did you guys notice, though, this is kind of subtle, that we moved from, I want to ask a question about this very particular choice my partner wants me to make about my possession and a thing that I own that is mine, that belongs to me and my time, to why do you have to question everything that he says? Why do you have to question everything that he wants, and does you trust him? Like, no, nobody here is saying that, like, I need to question every single thing that a man does and that he has to explain himself every single time he does anything. If it doesn't involve me, I don't care. I don't need to know why you had a tuna sandwich for lunch. I don't need to know why you prefer the toilet paper roll to be this way or that way. I don't need to know if you like or why you like pineapple on pizza. I don't need to know any of that. But if you are expecting me to change my behavior about my things that I own that are my possessions, it is fair to ask a question, especially when you have not previously negotiated to have authoritarian control over that area of my life. Now, if it's a habitual, normal, negotiated part of your relationship, for your partner to dictate your possessions and what you do with your money and your time, okay, you get to do that, that's you. But if this is a new thing that he randomly exerts control over whenever and if he feels